Trust Matters, we are often talking about social media and what companies can do to prevent trolling, hate, and abuse online. Well, now Twitter has announced what it's trying to do to tackle the problem. It's going to expand its safety mode feature, which allows users to temporarily block accounts which send harmful or abusive tweets. But is that enough? A question for Imran Ahmed, CEO of the Center for Countering Digital Hate.
Well, Twitter's putting the onus yet again back on the recipient of abuse to have to switch on a safety mode to stop them from receiving bad messages. What's clear is that Twitter actually has the ability to detect when people are spreading abuse, not just in terms of when people report it, but it looks like they've got a proactive capability to find it. And the question has to be, why aren't they enforcing their own rules? I mean, they themselves ban abuse. Why are they not just banning abusers instead of forcing people to accept to switch on safety mode?
Okay, let's ask that question. Why are they not doing? Is it the business model? Because the business model means they want as many messages moving about as possible, probably irrespective of what they're saying.
Yeah, I think, look, fundamentally, Twitter is a platform that can only make money if it keeps your attention. And typically, the best way to keep people's attention is a good old-fashioned argument or something that they can sink their teeth into, rather than, say, factual information, which is fairly uncontroversial. What is controversial and therefore keeps the attention is an argument. And what they're not doing, for example, is people who might know that person that's receiving abuse jumping in and seeing the abuse. They're not actually dealing with the problem that their platform's fundamental business model is: make the world feel angry and contentious. And that
Contention
has
is not bad, is it? There's nothing wrong with an argument, and sometimes it's hard to differentiate, isn't it? There can be a thin dividing line between an argument and abuse. We define it in different ways, don't we?
Well, no. Abuse is very, very clear to the recipient, and certainly identity-based abuse, for example, is easily definable. What gets people going is emotion. It's anger. It's rage, rather than a good-natured and interesting discussion between two sort of kindly academics. It is when people are shouting at each other, "You are wrong! No, you are wrong! No, you are wrong!" And Twitter knows that. Look, it's capable now of detecting when someone's being abusive. It knows when there's anger and hatred injected into the discourse, and it's able to tell someone, to give someone the ability to switch that off. The question is why they want to have it on 99.9% of the time, including for anyone that's watching that person's account.
If we have companies, in your eyes, like Twitter, who are not doing enough to tackle the problem, will it come down to regulators?
I mean, I think it is going to come down to asking regulators to make them put safety first, rather than to make it something, the onus being put onto the recipient of abuse. And it's not the only kind of harm these platforms cause. Don't forget the drip drip of misinformation that's recolored the lens through which people see the world, driving conspiracism in society and leading to things like the sort of vaccine hesitancy that we've seen during the pandemic, but also January the 6th. And I think this is one part of what they're doing. All credit to Twitter for trying something. They've done more than Meta, Facebook have done in the last few years. And it is clear that they're trying. But I think what they've come up against is that the hard wall that they're coming up against is that their business model is fundamentally toxic.
Final question to you. We see pressure coming from society on many different companies at the moment. Look at fossil fuels. Do you think this is an area where eventually we could see pressure from society coming on social media companies?
I I think the pollution of our information ecosystem is the next great challenge for our societies. Because just as with the pollution of our physical ecosystem, it does enormous amounts of damage to our society. It's something that initially you can almost look at, and of course, it's the byproduct of a good thing. So, just as climate change is the byproduct of in the Industrial Revolution, our amazing productivity as a species, so is the current sort of fracturing of our information ecosystem, the toxifying of it, a byproduct of social media, which can be positive. It can be enormously helpful to people.